C-3PO, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2. Welcome to the Star Tours Tomorrowland Spaceport.
Attention, please. Star Tours Flight 1119, non-stop service to Endor, is now ready for boarding at gate number 1. All passengers, please proceed to the boarding area immediately.
Kuchana, Haraway Chudo, Eke Endor, Gupta Toto Achibik, Katera Nugi Bashi Bashi.
Your attention, please. All interplanetary travelers must have a current passport and the necessary visas prior to leaving the spaceport. Passengers requiring assistance should visit the nearest information kiosk. Thank you.
Star Tours is now offering convenient daily departures to the exotic moon of Endor. Come spend an afternoon or the entire day with the lovable Ewoks in their charming tribal villages. It's a fun-filled visit that you and your family will remember forever. Just ask for the Endor Express, available only from Star Tours. Non-stop flights leave every few minutes, so don't delay. Visit Endor today.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. My name is Carlos Perrone, and joining me today I have here James. Say hi, James.
Hello, hello.
Today we're going to be continuing, or kind of like digging into one of the previous shows that we've done not too long ago. It was with the big announcement of Disney buying Star Wars and Lucasfilm and all that stuff. And I remember when that news happened, there was all this crazy speculation, and a lot of it was fueled by Disney itself. They were talking about, new movies and merchandising and theme parks and this and that and the other. And while a lot of information has come out, within the last year or so concerning movies and spin-offs and standalone things and this and that. And, that seems to be slowly, as usual, trickling out to everybody and, to us to be able to talk about it. One of the big things that we were speculating at the time, and even before that announcement was made, we used to talk about, gee, wouldn't it be great if Disney one day could do an entire park having to do with Star Wars or expand Star Tours and all that kind of stuff? Well, as a result of this deal, they started talking about that. They started saying, all right, well, part of this will include theme parks. There is going to be a bigger Star Wars presence because obviously once they own Lucasfilm and Star Wars, they're going to make money out of it. And one of the best ways, I guess, to make money, the most profitable ways, is to bring it into a theme park and expand on it. Now, as you all know, there's already a Star Wars presence there, from late to mid 80s when they first, started with Star Tours. But now with them actually owning Lucasfilm, rumors started trickling around that they were going to really go kind of nutty on it in terms, I don't know if they were going to go as far as building an entire park, but at least that they were going to convert certain things. So James, let's talk a little bit about some of now again, these are rumors or some of it is somewhat official. It's really hard to say because the information, there hasn't been a press conference yet that I'm aware of where the president of Disney says, listen, guys, here's a list of everything we're going to do. That has not happened yet, publicly at least. I'm sure behind closed doors, they have these meetings, but publicly there's not. So all we have to go on is rumors. So James, let's talk a little bit about the different rumors of what possible things have been talked about that could start to kind of trickle into all the different theme parks.
Well, as a longtime fan of Disney, and specifically the Disney parks, I noticed that Disney is always a step or two behind when it comes to their big products. And it seems like they're reluctant to commit. They probably have a corporate mentality where everything has to be evaluated, analyzed, priced out, every little detail.
Focus groups and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts that companies do that. But okay, we would work on emotion and there would be there'd be no money at the end because we made
broke in a week.
Yeah, we made some crazy ride that 12 people liked and then it cost too much. So it broke down and we couldn't fix it, so on and so forth. But over the years, Pixar products in particular, they have dropped the ball on opportunity. Now, in the past, say, 5 to 7 years, they've kind of got on the Toy Story bandwagon, and those are some of the best rides Disney has, the Buzz Lightyear, and a lot of people like the newer one, the Bullseye style one.
Yes, the 3D one.
The 3D. I think the actual Buzz Lightyear one, as simple as it was spectacular, and it brought you into Buzz's world.
But the secondary one you mentioned, I remember it's still a hot ride. You still have to get there early or else it's sold out.
But that one is more of a Toy Story, where the other one was Buzz, and there's a lot going on, but kids can really get into it. They really love it. Okay. Then other things that they made a Bug's Life. Bug's Life was great. And the little show they did was a great 3D show, interactive. You can smell things. You can feel things. I really enjoyed it. I think now, 10 years later, most kids, Bug's Life isn't as big of a deal to them. And
they probably have no clue what it is.
Yeah. I mean, parents probably show it to them, but it's not out there. There was no Bug's Life sequel. There's not a likelihood of a Bug's Life sequel.
And it's not really a Disney classic if you think about it.
The other problem was Monsters, Inc., which was a Disney classic almost right from the start. And what happened was Monsters, Inc. was huge, and they really didn't know what to do with it. They had a Mike Wazowski comedy floor or something like that at
But
Downtown
it even
Disney.
took them a while to get that out there.
And they did something. They retroed in California Adventure, the original, the Whoopee ride, as I call it, which was basically like a bunch of wax statues with some recordings of some ABC people. Yeah. And it kind of was a dumb version of the Great Movie Ride. Some people don't even like that. This was worse than that. It was hard. And they actually changed and made it into a Monsters, Inc. ride, which turns out it's pleasant. It's good to look at. The interactivity with some of the animatronics is nice, but still not up to snuff of what Monsters, Inc. should have gotten. And then now with all the modern Pixar movies with Dory and Nemo and those guys, they've kind of just stuck those into some existing rides at Epcot and some other areas of the park, which is nuts because these movies are the bread and butter of Disney now. There are a few princesses things and other movies that show up here and there, but the Pixar stuff is really what's, getting people into the theater.
Right. That's like the modern stuff. Granted, obviously the park's still built. Its bread and butter really is on the old classic stuff. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. But the modern stuff seems to take forever to get there.
And that's what brings me now to Star Wars. We hear about a year and a half ago now that Star Wars is being taken over by Disney and there's massive plans. Now, some of the plans we've talked about seemed a little unrealistic at the time. And the theme park plans in particular were the ones that had me concerned because as great as that sounds, I knew they do things very slowly. And it seemed odd that they had such high hopes for theme park additions when they still haven't done things for certain of their own, certain other properties that they've had for years. So it starts trickling out news that there's going to be some additions in addition to what they did with Cars Land in California, which was a huge success. I mean, right from day one, got great press and fan reaction was great. I mean, I've seen it. I love it. It is one of the best things Disney's done in ages. So you figure, okay, if they've got people who have the ability to make Cars Land, then maybe we can get a Star Wars Land. Well, where would it be? And is it going to be Disney-wide? Is it going to be Florida? Is it going to be California? I didn't know. And I think Florida is starting to lack a few things. They've upgraded Fantasyland for the children, and it's almost completely open now. I think within weeks, if it's not open already from soft opening, they'll be fully open. But some of the other areas have started to slip a little bit. And when you go there, it's great that you see these rides and you love them and let's go do this and let's go do that.
It's a Small World comes to mind.
Yeah, but there's certain things that are like, oh, okay, it's happening. It's here. But I feel like I just did this. And even if you hadn't been there for 5 years, it's like, oh, I feel like I just did this. And some of the things that come to mind are Dinosaur. That was a ride. It's actually even been updated once since it originally came out.
Exactly.
To tie into a movie that came and went, at this point, 15 years ago.
Again, another one of these movies that it's not a bad movie. It's a pretty good movie, but it's completely irrelevant now.
And now they make this big announcement after Universal does all kinds of things with their park in Harry Potter Land, and they've upgraded a lot of their rides. They've got some new Simpsons rides, and they've got some, crazy, the Marvel ride. Even though Marvel is owned by Disney, the great rides are at Universal's park, at least until further notice. So when they announced Avatar, I felt, wow, that's a big commitment to a movie that while granted, it's the top movie or, one of the top movies ever.
Of the time.
I just don't feel the love worldwide for Avatar is anywhere close to Pixar and, of course, Star Wars, which now it's almost 40 years old.
And the target location for Avatar is supposed to be the Animal Kingdom, correct?
And which Animal Kingdom needed a kick in the pants because the last thing they had was the Abominable Snowman ride.
Yeah, the Animal Kingdom has always been kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the Disney parks.
I like it. A lot of people like it, but it just doesn't have the oomph. It's like, okay, we can do that in like almost half a day.
It's the half-day park. Yeah, exactly.
So again, I keep getting off on a tangent, but it all does come back. So Star Wars Land, okay, they've got a major commitment to Avatar. They've got a pretty big commitment to a Cars Land coming to Florida, and they've got the commitment to all these upgrades, which a lot of people didn't even realize because, as you said, and as some stories have said, it's not sexy to talk about new turnstiles and new fast pass and new ways to get people moving in restaurants and stuff. What's the exciting part is, wow, there's going to be this world or that world.
Now, the question is this. Whenever they have a good idea or a new idea of doing something big, I'm sure the first question they ask themselves is, do we do this from scratch? Or do we retrofit something old?
And retrofit seems to be the easiest, cheapest, and most Disney way. And it's not a terrible thing because it finds a way to turn an old ride that may be dying or dead or an old adventure area that's not really luring crowds in. I use the submarine ride for an example. The submarine ride was closed. It was totally closed and paved over in a sense in Florida. Well, in California, they found a way to bring it back and give it a Nemo theme, which was brilliant. Again, I call it a cheap way out, like I said, like it did before with Monsters, Inc. They kind of found something, but it was a way to bring a classic ride into the modern world of Disney's products, Pixar. So with Star Wars World, there's already the connection to space, which is the Tomorrowland. And that way they can kind of find available space by doing areas there, but also, keeping the charm of the original park. And in California especially, that's important because Walt actually, he created that. California is Walt's park. Florida is Walt's vision, but he was sadly gone by then, and his brother and other executives found ways to bring his ideas, and they're still kind of doing that.
But it makes logistical sense. Tomorrowland, futuristic land. I mean, you could kind of say maybe Epcot, but Epcot is also like the world. So Tomorrowland is more like that
more
futuristic
realistic stuff. They would like you to believe it's more realistic based on fact. This is really happening, even though we throw our other characters into it.
Tomorrowland is more fantasy.
Exactly, and that's what Star Wars is.
Epcot is more real future.
Some of the ideas were very simple with restaurants or walkthroughs and changing.
Well, let's go through some of these because this is what's important. This is what I really want to focus on is the fact that when it's all said and done, at least at this stage, one of the things that we're thinking about is a restaurant. And again, when we talked about it before, what do? Do something new or you retrofit something? Well, one of the ideas was to have a cantina, like a Tatooine cantina style restaurant at a place that already exists right now. And what was the name of that place, James?
It was the Tomorrowland
Terrace.
Tomorrowland Terrace, which a lot of people, it's had a couple names over the past few years, but a lot of people know it as Cosmic Rays.
Well, you walk around in like a big circle to different
and
stations.
Inside is a guy who looks like Alf, the TV alien.
He's playing like a giant piano or like an electronic piano.
He's a lounge singer and he's got some backup singers and he tells jokes. It's all animatronic, but it's really fun and it's kind of quaint and I really like it, but I can see where it's dated. And so that would make sense. And some of the areas around that, especially in California, that's where Star Tours already is in Tomorrowland. And, I hate to keep coming back to this, the dropped ball, but they had an opportunity to modernize Star Tours a few years ago, which they did in both parks and around the world. And there was talk then of turning some things more modern, but I guess the license and Lucasfilm at the time, which was still Lucasfilm, not Disney, they were focusing on episode 1 stuff and, the prequel stuff as much as they were the classic stuff. Well, I think Disney now, while it owns it all, would really like to focus on the original saga more and their ideas and their vision and their movies that are coming in the future. Not that they're going to disown the prequels, but I just think The prequels leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. And so I think they want to focus more on the classic that everybody seems to love than the one that is a little bit, polarizing.
Right. Now, the other thing is like when you're spending your own money, you start to have a different point of view. In other words, if you're expecting Lucas to pony up some money, that's one thing. But now that Disney owns the whole kit and caboodle, it's like, well, wait a minute, hold on. If we're going to do it, they're going to be a little more careful with how they're spending their money. And like you mentioned earlier, it's going to go through that entire corporate structure of analyzing, returns and how many people are going to see it and blah, 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 and this and that and the other. Now, another one of these proposed, if you will, again, this is all rumor, ride, which is actually an actual ride now, which we haven't seen a new Star Wars ride since the original one, is something having to do with like the speeder bikes from Return of the Jedi, having to kind of people be able to kind of climb on one of them and going like, I guess, a big circle.
That would have been near or in place of what Autotopia is presently, which is a nice, fun little go-kart ride.
Yeah,
but it was
it's
more
a little
fun.
kiddie.
In the 60s, it was more fun. Now it's really, really slow, and it's hard for them to keep the cars going, and they're probably scared about people crashing or people going too fast. It's really, really...
And if you think about it, to build something like that, you would have to, if you're using a track system, an electric car track system, I guess you would have to somehow enclose the person because you want to keep them safe. You can't have somebody just riding it like they're riding a horse, some electrical device. It would have to be enclosed somehow and to be able to kind of swerve a little bit left and right. So I see it more like a kiddie ride, really.
It would be more like a speeder rather than speeder bikes per se that we saw.
Like a land speeder ride.
Exactly. It would be more like a car or buggy or something that they can strap people into.
Yes. You got to make it safe.
And it's not going to be fast and it's not going to have this zipping effect. And probably it's still more for the younger children and their parents, if that.
Right.
But the beauty of it was they were going to interact an Ewok village, which would probably be very similar to they have them in the California park, and I think it might be in the Florida park as well. It's like a Swiss Family adventure, and you were climbing up rope ladders and things like that.
Yeah, I wonder how that would work.
And I have a feeling there would be that type of feel to it. It would be elevated slightly. We're not talking 100 feet in the air, but it would be elevated slightly to give the people the impression that they're higher up, and maybe there'd be characters in Ewok outfits and I thought when I heard about it, I thought this is their way to sell stuffed Ewoks. And ultimately it all comes down to merchandise. And they're going to find a way to sell stuffed Ewoks and droids and stuff like they do now for the Star Tours.
Don't get me wrong.
And lightsabers.
As much as we can rag on Disney for being a,
No, we both love it. We're not being...
No. Not only do we love it, but Lucasfilm has been milking these things since the inception of them. They're just changing hands. You're going from one guy merchandising the crap out of something to a corporation merchandising the crap out of something. It's no big deal. It's just switching hands. Now, let's just mention one more rumored ride that, again, this is a little different, a little interesting. I would love to see something like this. And that is some kind of a Millennium Falcon walkthrough ride where you could actually walk through different parts of the Falcon. And they were supposed to build this where the current People Mover exists.
And I love the People Mover, and I'd be very sad to lose that. But I think the Millennium Falcon walkthrough is about as perfect as you can get. It's an iconic set and ship. Everybody loves it. I don't know. The only thing that could be better is if they didn't want you to walk through the Millennium Falcon, then they could have like a Rebel hangar or a hangar of some type where they have a life-size Millennium Falcon that you can walk underneath and around, as well as X-Wings, Y-Wings, maybe other shuttle.
If you think about the People Mover, it is way bigger than what the Falcon is supposed to be. So I guess you're not going into something that is, within the ratio of the real size.
And is the Falcon supposed to be in like Docking Bay 94, or is it supposed to be in a Death Star setting or a Hoth setting?
I would imagine you go from like different rooms of the Falcon to different rooms of the Falcon, but not in proportion. It's not the shape of the Falcon you're going through it, because even though it is a circle, the People Mover is much bigger than the Falcon.
And is it a real or is it a virtual tour where it's more like film? And you're not really going that many places at all.
Think of the People Mover. Think of the areas you visit when you're the People Mover.
Were they going to utilize the People Mover while you would still sit in a little buggy?
Right.
And go around. Now, the Falcon's not that big, like you said. So it might be a part of I don't know. I don't like the idea of them incorporating the People Mover into the Falcon ride. If you can't walk through it yourself and then walk back out somehow, then that would let me down.
But that goes against all the Disney concepts in terms of a Disney ride is something that keeps people moving. You don't stop and stare. You got to keep moving because you got to get the next person in. It's that kind of a thing. And the People Mover, exactly that's what it is. It's you just go in a circle.
Yeah, so that is all now on hold. And here's the main reason. Disney panicked recently for various failures or expected failures or perceived failures. Now, one that I would think is a big factor is the Johnny Depp Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger film, yeah.
Sadly, most people don't remember the 90s, much less the 30s and 40s when the Lone Ranger was popular. So that was a gamble, but Johnny Depp is so well liked and such a Disney property himself with the Captain Jack, and it turned out it wasn't a bad idea. It just wasn't a good movie, I think. And kind of like a couple years ago was Prince of Persia. It was a bit of a failure.
One, yeah.
And then John Carter of Mars again. They've had these giant failures that were supposed to be like big Disney movies, and they turned out that they weren't. They were bombs in some cases. The Lone Ranger was expected to help revitalize, I think, the Western themes that Disney has, and they could have opened up, because a lot of that's kind of dying, like the Country Bear Jamboree and all that kind of stuff is kind of waning. They would have found a way to revitalize it with Lone Ranger stuff. Okay, it may or may not happen, but trouble is, it happened, they lost money, or they feel they lost money. The other problem is they're trying to modernize the parks. And by that is the fast pass system, the entry system, the way you get around, the way they keep track of you, which is the big thing. They want to know what you're doing. They already basically know what you're eating, what you're spending, where you're going because of your card. And every time you have the meal plan, they know exactly what you've eaten. They can probably break this down to, how much weight you gained on this trip.
But the consumers don't care about that.
Well, what I'm saying is they do. And that's why they're doing it. And now what they're doing is they're taking the FastPass system, and instead of you putting in your little card and getting a little ticket, now you're going to wear a wristband, which is your park, your food. Everything is kind of like all in one. This is your ID in the park. This is your multipass, whatever. And the system and the people who created that really weren't theme park experts. They didn't know how to make it easy for the customer, I guess interesting for the customer. And I know this firsthand because my brother is an annual pass holder. He has the timeshare, which is, what's that called? Disney,
the vacation club?
He's a vacation club member. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't like to use the word timeshare. Disney doesn't like that. So he was recently in the park. He was sent this packet. Now, this thing had to cost anywhere from $25 to $50. It reminds me a little bit of how much money AOL wasted in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. They would send out all these little disc packs and metal boxes to get you to sign up for AOL. Now, is AOL even a factor anymore? I mean, they've been bought and traded and moved. I know they exist, and
My
I know
dad still uses it for his email.
I know it's still a name. Yeah, I actually know a very big, powerful person whose email is still so-and-so at AOL.com. And it's amazing that this person would even do it. But it's so simple.
You have mail.
Well, yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is they wasted a lot of money doing that, trying to lure people into their system. And now Disney's doing the same thing. And so they send out this very expensive, beautiful little package to their annual pass holders and their vacation club members. And maybe even if you sign up for an upcoming vacation, maybe you get one as well. But it's not easy to work with. It's this band. And when you get there now, it takes you, this was a modest day, about a half hour to get it all working. When it's a busy season, maybe it'll take you even longer. I don't know.
Right.
And all this costs money and time and aggravation.
Well, that's the speculation that we were reading on that article from, I believe that the website is called Mice Age, and it's micechat.com, where they go into detail as to their speculation of why is it that everything is being delayed. And not only the things we just talked about, but like you were saying, they're factoring in these new FastPass systems that, yes, it's nice to have it. It's nice to get it to work, but it's not working exactly the way they want it to. And people are not, they don't come to the park to experience the FastPass. They come to the park to experience the flashy new innovative
the
rides.
Other stuff to work smoothly because you want to go see the rides and you want to go see the shows.
Right.
And it's basically everything's been shut down. Now, Florida in particular seems to have suffered the most. California, it's in between, and some other parts of the world it's not as noticeable because
Right.
they have other obligations and other bosses in
Right.
a sense. It's more of a license, say, in China.
And specifically in Florida, you mentioned there were plans probably for not only Florida, but other parts to bring a Monsters Inc. I think they called it Monstropolis.
Yeah.
That's one of these things where they were going to inject, Monsters Inc. related stuff.
So
and
Star Wars isn't the only thing that got...
Yeah, they got to back off now.
That got held up. Everything got held up. And they say some rides that were going to kind of disappear are now never going to... They were supposedly going to just like close for repairs.
Right.
They're going to be
Fantasyland
gone.
was supposed to have something called the Dark Ride Reimagining. That's also being kind of put on hold. The Little Mermaid was going to get another reimagining, another upgrade. That's also being put on hold. And even bigger than all these things, they're planning on this big 60th anniversary plan for all the parks, for Disney's 60th anniversary. And there were a lot of things that were going to do on that apparently that are now being put on hold. And you can't delay an anniversary. That's impossible. So I don't know how they're going to work that out.
The anniversary will still happen, but it's going to be a lot of paper and nonsense products. There'll be, big, all the postcards and all the stickers and pins and everything. There'll still be all that simplicity, the real easy stuff, napkins, crap like that. Yeah. They'll decorate, they'll put a new fireworks display or something.
The only thing they seem to be going forward with, I guess because it's already in the works and it's cheaper than all these other things, is the HD upgrade of Soarin', and especially in California, because I guess they're actually putting in HD monitors instead of projecting
which is
film.
About time, and I think it'll be 3D as well, probably. And maybe I'm wrong, but it's a ride that's great. But after about the 10th time you've been on it, it's like, all right. It was soaring over California because it was opened in California Adventure. So when they opened it, and just because they took the California part off, it still was California centric. And I think they were going to make it more universal, maybe other parts of the world or other Disney.
Well, they're especially from what this article tells us that they're very popular overseas, like in China and stuff, in Tokyo, because it's a way of, foreign people to see what California is like. Without having to actually go there.
So back to the problem with everything being shut down. Even if this stuff as ambitious as it sounds, now it's being pushed back. Well, what does that mean? To the average person, it means nothing. Exactly. They're still going to go to Disney. They're going to have a great time. They're going to say, oh, I thought I heard this was going to be here. Or I thought I heard Cars Land was coming to Florida. Or I thought I heard they were going to modernize something or change this. Yeah, but most people, it's not really a big factor. To Star Wars fans, which every little thing from every casting decision, every little Twitter that, J.J. Abrams puts out, every little thing that you hear about.
But there's a timeline with Star Wars. There's a countdown happening right now.
Well, there's no countdown. Here's the problem. Everybody wants there to be a countdown, and Disney wanted there to be a tie-in to be able to promote, hey, we've got our new movie line coming out, and here's some things you can come to our parks also, and you can buy these products, and you can, some of that's going to be pushed back. Yeah. And so...
Well, the movie was pushed back 6 months.
Exactly. It was too ambitious. They threw a bunch of stuff out there and they didn't even hire a director at that point when they announced that. So that's not a problem. And it's not a problem that they push phase 1 to the date where phase 2 was supposed to happen. Because assuming there's at least 3 movies, plus sadly, I'm still hearing these origin type movies where they have the individual characters, which I think is potentially a mistake with characters that we love. If they wanted to make individual movies with lesser characters,
Justin Bieber,
that's fine. I really don't think we need, some young kid playing young Han Solo or,
Zac
young
Efron Han Solo.
Really? Are you going to go see a Yoda movie? Do you want to see a Yoda movie? That's more like a short that they can show before the real Star Wars if they wanted to. Okay. We can have a third show on that. So if there's 3 movies over a possibly 9-year period, that they can open these rides forever. Star Wars is 40 years old. So originally stuff was going to be implemented in 2015. Yeah. Now they can make it a Star Wars 40th anniversary kind of launch. So in 2017, they could make it launches for various other...
They can retcon anything.
Yeah, they can various other anniversaries. They can call it that we're going to tie it into the second movie. We're going to tie it into the TV show that they might make. That's not a big deal. I worry less about the dates than it actually happening. But I worry more now that if they're already panicking over these various other problems, what are they going to do when are they going to start cutting corners? Are they going to say, okay, now your Millennium Falcon ride is actually a wooden set that you can take a picture that looks like the front of the Millennium Falcon next, some crap like that. And that's the kind of stuff I worry about because they did that. Yeah. In the early 2000s, they started doing that towards the end of Eisner's run. Eisner had this great ambitious plan and it was happening. The Animal Kingdom opening up was one of them, California Adventure. But when that started, Animal Kingdom didn't bring in the crowds that expected. California Adventure was considered a flop at first. They were talking about retconning. I mean, they were going through adding stuff and trying to modernize it 5 minutes after it opened. I was there. I saw what the difference is. And now I feel if they do a situation like that, where after a couple failures or a couple of rough periods, if they try to cut corners, that's going to be bad in the long run. They've got to keep the integrity. And that's what Universal's been doing. I don't know really how they've been doing it and where their money's coming from, or if they just feel it's a good investment, but those Marvel rides were fantastic. The Harry Potter world, I haven't heard a bad thing about it. And
other than how crowded it gets.
Well, exactly. They need more. They need more space. They should have made it its own park, people said. But in terms of excitement and the feeling that you're in Harry Potter world, which I've been in Harry Potter world in England. So if the Florida park is half of that, and the things I'm hearing, it must be a good place, you know?
But you said it yourself. The average person that goes there is not going to give a crap about any of the stuff we're talking about, because this is the same thing that we do when we talk about toys, and this is the same thing we do when we talk about movies. We are very nitpicky about it because this is something that we're very, very interested in.
And we're not looking at the bottom line, which when we talk about the toy shows, all the corners cut and the lack of articulation and the lack of accessories is hurting them. Well, hopefully Disney doesn't take the bottom line and say, well, we need to shave off, $1 billion on some of these projects throughout the whole company. So let's cut out the Millennium Falcon and we'll give them a restaurant that looks like it's a cantina and everybody will be happy.
They got it. They got to do it. And like I said, we're going to see something. There's no way around it. They cannot have this huge investment of Lucasfilm and not want to turn a buck, even in a theme park. They're going to do it. They're going to give it to us. They're not going to give it to us exactly how we want it or at the time that we want it, but it's going to come sooner or later, right?
Yeah. The changes have to happen because some of them are in motion and some of them, like Cars Land, are just so fantastic that they'd be stupid not to eventually. It just might take a few extra years. Right. So using Cars Land as an example of something that is a great idea,
that eventually has to find its way to the other parks.
And now it has to be implemented in other areas. I say Star Wars will probably get its due. Unfortunately, it won't be as fast as a lot of us and a lot of other fans, we're hoping. Right, but maybe that's a good thing too, because they'll think out the garbage and
don't rush it. Get it right, do it right. Don't rush it.
Yeah. And I remember in other conversations, you said you didn't think Star Wars could sustain itself in its own land type of thing. So I think it could, but maybe they'll think about this and say, okay, well, maybe it's a way that they can rethink how they do it better, do it right. More people are happy. I don't.
You know what it is? I don't think Disney would want to devote a whole park to something they did not invent themselves.
That's possibly true.
They don't mind giving you a seat at the table. They're just not going to give you the head seat.
They want to keep you in the parks that they already have, not have to create a reason to get you into other parks, taking you away from the parks that they need a reason to get you into Animal Kingdom, and they need a reason to keep you in Epcot, and everybody was willing to go to the Magic Kingdom. It's those other parks that's what, Hollywood Park, I guess, would have, some new stuff. Not Hollywood. It used to be MGM.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Hollywood.
Well, let's hope that these rumors, in a way, I hope these rumors are not exactly true, but in another way, I hope they are true, because I hope at least it's in the direction of where we're going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think we'll start to see, like right now, somebody hit the stop button, everything, the alarms are going off, but I think in the next year or so, as we hear more about the production of the movie itself, we'll hear more about the plans and what's really going to happen.
Cool. Well, I'd like to thank James, first of all, for joining me today, because this is a conversation that it kept kind of slipping through our fingers, and because it is, obviously we're big Disney people, but we're even bigger Star Wars people. And this is something that it's been always in the back burner of when are we going to see something new in a park? When are we going to see something new in a park? Well, hopefully this is the first step, or at least the second step since the initial announcement of something that's actually coming to one of these parks.
Well, I think that's the reason why we haven't heard any press conferences and everybody at the D23 or some of these other big name Disney conventions or Disney high profile events. There's been nothing official because they kind of have held off and pulled the plug and changed their minds. So once we start hearing that, like you said, that's when we know, okay, there's things going to happen. Whether we like them or not, that's when it's going to kick into gear. Exactly.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you here next time at Geekfest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Star Tours announces the arrival of the Endor Express. Once we've had a chance to service the Star Speeder, we'll begin our boarding procedures. Thank you. Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express, non-stop Star Speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Captain has opened the exit doors. You may then unlatch your safety restraints by pressing the release button on your left. Oh, and do make sure you have your personal belongings. Thank you.
Stop.